it is free, and then it has to note it down, right? Okay, this process is over, and then we have to the operating system will take that freed memory, and then it has to allocate to some other process. These kind of things, operating system have to keep track of each and everything. So there are certain functions. The first one is keep track of each and every memory location, regardless of either it is allocated to some process or it is free. Which means, the operating system has to keep track of. For example, I'm moving into my cursor to here, and then I'm asking to write something here. So this is an active page, so this is an active process. I'm checking meaning of meaning in Tamil, whatever. So that time it will allocate some memory, right? So where, suppose if I'm not working with PyCharm or any other document, so it has to note it down. The memory is allocated for PyCharm or whatever, the Word doc or whatever. It has to note and then create some other table. We cannot see that all those things, but the operating system keep track of each and everything. How much memory is required for this process. For example, when I enter this, enter something here. What is the meaning of chit chat or whatever? The operating system has to understand how much memory for that. If this is simple displaying thing, so which may not require much memory. But if I run this program, it definitely it will take some other memory, right? It will occupy that maybe 2 byte or 5 bytes, depending upon that process. So it decides that process will get memory and what time. Yeah. So which means, one process is active, then the operating system has to know, okay, how much memory is needed, and then what time we have to allocate for that process, right? What time the memory should be allocated for that process. These kind of all the functionalities, operating system has to mark it down somehow, or it will create a table, and then whatever the process here in my if you see in my desktop, I have opened 4 Windows Explorer. Then I have opened some of the tabs, Internet Explorer, everything. It is loaded already. It is loaded. So the operating system will notice everything. So here in my computer I have many apps. Nothing is opened yet, only the PyCharm. Then some of the documents are open. So which means whenever that any Internet Explorer opened, or the Windows Internet Windows Explorer open, then operating system has to know that, okay, these 3 process for Internet Explorer, and then 4 of them for Windows Explorer. See, this is called when you open that file, this page is called Windows Explorer. See, if you move on to check any pages here, see, this is that this is Internet Explorer, right? Okay, whenever things are loaded in the computer, then our operating system has to know, okay, many processes are ready to run, and then we have it has to allocate memory for that. So I just simply opened this one. So Python shell, I'm not going to do anything. So maybe before I haven't yesterday I just wrote this one, right? So maybe I closed it, and then when I open it again, I will, 1 second. So I just opened it, I haven't even touched anything. So which means whenever I enter and then do write on it, then immediately it will create a memory for that. Apart from that, okay, it is loaded, that process is loaded, but not necessary to allocate memory. So these all kind of things, operating system has to identify and then allocate memory. Okay, so there are some techniques how to allocate, and then what how many there are techniques are there. So we will see one by one. The single memory management, which means only one application can run at a time. So for example, I would say that MS DOS, have you heard of it? MS DOS, Microsoft Disk Operating System, MS DOS, I would. So this is a good example for single memory management, which means when you install that, when you load Microsoft Disk Operating System, which means when you in disk operating system, you have to insert the disk, then only the operating system will open, and then only one process you can run at a time. So the the rest of the process in my computer, I may stored games or calculator, whatever things you whenever the my MS DOS open, then I cannot work other things. So you know what will happen, and the operating system allocates memory for that only. So you can see it from that image. So the operating system, the application program, only one application or one job can be done at a time. So which means this is a logical address for that application, and then translate into physical address. So physical address, you would say that physical location means it is a hard disk. Okay, so whenever the single management memory management means don't confuse yourself. But the best example is Microsoft the disk operating system. Only one application runs at a time, and other application will get hold of memory only after the application is over. See, other application means in my computer I can install anything, anything, any games or any application or any other tools or whatever. So once that first MS DOS will be over, then only I can able to select the other thing. That is a single memory management. Then next one is a partition allocation. So partition allocation means the primary memory is divided into different shared memory area is called partition. So here you can see that. See that here this process 1 and then process 2, process 3, these are all different kind of maybe you can say application, even though one small program, a big program has a 2-3 links between. So this is a first job, process 1 is a first job, and then process 2 is a second job, something like that. So the the operating system allocates the fixed size. If you see that partition, so the partition 1 has 3 MB and then 1 MB, then 3 MB and then 1 MB. So there are, everything is fixed. Only each process can get only 3 MB. So what is the 1 MB? So that is internal fragmentation. For example, the main memory allocates that some internal fragmentation. Why it is that the, for example, my process 2 has a need more than 3 MB file. Okay, so imagine the process 2 here. Let me take my pen. That is it. Review. Okay, here this process 2. Come on, red color. Okay, the process 2, the file size is more than 3 MB. So, but allocated memory is only 3 MB, right? So, what will do? It will, that is why here the internal fragmentation, it will create some memory here. That is the main advantage of partitioning. So, partitioning that memory. So, only First, initially, it will give only the 3 MB for each process. It will group, okay, how many process you can load at the time, and then each process will get only 3 MB. Then some of the internal fragmentation will be created for each partitioning. See, suppose process one, it will take only 2 MB. So this partitioning and the internal fragmentation here, it will be free, right? So then immediately the process 2 will take over. The process 2 won't take over. That operating system allocates that memory into that process. So the operating system has to know that, right? So the process 1 needs only 2 MB. So this internal fragmentation, it can allocate to whichever process needs that memory, it can allocate on time. So that is the main advantage of partition allocation. Okay, you got it right, this one, guys? I'm coming. Okay. So if I ask something, at least one of you just to reply right away. Otherwise, I thought I may disconnected or I muted myself or something. Okay. So the running application allocated some number of pages. Okay, I moved on to some other thing. Say it again. Someone said something. What is that?
Ma'am, for Neelraj, voice is lagging, ma'am.
Neelraj voice or my voice?
For Neelraj, your voice, ma'am.
Oh, okay. How about others? I'm fine, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
For me, fine.
Okay, no problem. Okay. The running application is allocated one or more partition depending upon the process requirement. That is what I told you. Imagine, the process to 3 MB. Here, they said the 3 MB means the partition allocation memory. Okay. For example, this, where it is gone? This is a review. 9, 10. Okay. So imagine this process to file needs more than 3 MB. Imagine 5 MB or whatever. Okay, but operating system allocates each process should get only 3 MB. So here some other internal fragmentation, internal memory will be there. Suppose I'm hitting the process 2 hitting, okay, I need 5 MB. Then when it is available, then operating system provide that space. Okay, even though it provides this 1 MB, it is not enough, right? So it will check all the process which needs less memory. So we are assuming that process 1 needs only 1 MB or 2 MB. So this internal, this memory will be free, right? So this process 1 requires only 1 MB, either 1 MB or 2 MB. Just imagine. Okay, so obviously this partition 1 internal memory will be free. So operating system knew that. So that is what I am telling you. Operating system has to keep track of everything. Okay, which process is loaded, and then which process needs this memory. Okay, it has to keep track in this way. So it will allocate that 1 MB into this process too when it is requires. Sometimes I may yesterday when I run that Python program, and then I when user has to enter the value for that, right? So here I just keep waiting, leave it that PyCharm. So immediately it won't allocate, the operating system won't allocate that 1 MB for that. When it is requires, then at that time only it will find out, okay, here in that look, what happened? Pen. Okay, so okay, when this process is ready to run, that time only it will allocate the extra memory. Okay, so that is the partition memory allocation. So next, move on to page memory management. So the page memory management is divided into fixed size unit called page frames or simple page. See, you know what? If you see that diagram, you will see that file A, file B, file C, or file D, whatever. This file B, it occupies only less memory. So it will create a fixed size unit called page frames or simply pages. Okay. So here it creates that memory. Okay, it knows that when the program is loaded. Okay, let me move to here. This sample you can understand that. Then that program, or I won't say program, when the process is loaded, then memory, the operating system, identify, okay, which process is coming, how much memory is required, everything is right, everything it noted down. So the and the next technique, the paging memory management, the primary memory divided. What is a primary memory? It is a main memory, so RAM, right? So RAM is divided into fixed size unit. Can you see that here? It is a frame and then it is a content. Here it creates a two table, and then this is the page and a frame. So fixed size unit is called a page frames or simply pages. Here you can see that fixed size unit is called oh my no. Okay, it creates a table. Then how it is allocated in that memory, you can see that this is a page 2 or whatever. In that page 2 there is a frame 10, 18, 1 and 11. If I select that, this one, I don't see it here. Here P2 page 2. So page 2, that is it. P2 page 2. Yeah, the frame should be 18. Content, the frame 1. Okay. See, can you see this example? P2, there is a page 2, then, sorry, here page 3, maybe it is a table, primary page memory table, and then, frame is 11. You can see that frame is 11, and then P2 means that is a table, page management table. Then, it will allocate here this memory. So, extremely sorry, I missed something before. The primary memory is divided into fixed size unit called pages, or simply, page frames. The running application allocated some number of pages for its working depending upon the process requirement. The running application. If running application means right now I'm working on that Microsoft Word. This application, allocate some number of pages for depending upon that process requirement. What I'm doing here, I'm just drawing. I'm not running anything. I'm just typing and then doing. So it may allocate only few size memory, right? So if you are running something, that will different, just typing, and then if you save, that will allocate only less memory. So this is the page memory management. Next one is segment memory management. Segment memory management means the memory is divided into logical unit, is called the segmentation. The logical unit and then physical unit. A physical unit means a physical address. If you say physical, that is depends on the primary memory. Okay, so let's see that diagram. Can you see properly? Let me zoom in. Can you see now properly? Why it is scrolling down all the time? Okay, it is enough. The segment memory management means that memory is divided into logical unit, logical address space. You can imagine that this is the logical unit. I always it's disappearing. Come on. It is partitioning, see it creates a segment 1 and then segment 0, segment 2 and then segment 3. It won't come, the running application is allocated some segments depending upon the process requirement. The same thing, page memory management is also same thing. The running application allocated some number of page for its working depending upon the requirement. Same way, in the segmentation memory management, the running application allocated some segments. If but here in our class, so what is the running application right now? MS Word. So the MS Word, and what we gonna do, just writing something and then drawing something and then we gonna save it. So it may take less memory, right? When we run real tool, any other than the PyCharm or Cobalt C editor or whatever, those kind of application, or depending upon the program, it will create a segment. This one, maybe I would say that the MS Word, I create a segment like this. So if I run PyCharm, it may take the segment 1, something like that. Again, share a physical memory. What does mean that, this segmentation, it may not share that physical memory address. Physical memory, it is different of chunks of memory may belonging to one segment. Okay, so that is the segment memory management. You don't need to worry about these drawings. Just for your understanding, I have took some of the images. You don't need them actually. What what is the meaning of segmentation memory management, how it works, that is enough. Okay, so if I ask in a test question, write about the functions of some memory management, you can write a single memory allocation, partition memory allocation. You don't need to draw these kind of drawings. Okay, for your understanding, I keep on talking this theoretical portion, you may not understand sometimes. So that is why I just created this kind of images. So when you see that images, you will understand okay, how segmentation is created, and then where it goes, and then paging memory management, how the partition for the primary memory, or any virtual memory or something like that. You will understand when you see that diagram. So that is why I just I'm showing here. All the classes are recorded, and then they will upload it in the YouTube. So no need for my any documentation. Yesterday you guys asked me, right? So I forgot that time. Each and every classes will be uploaded in the YouTube in the form of, you can select, one second, let me write here. I always create class 11, class 11 SCS, then topics name, chapter name. This chapter is insight, what is it called? Insight into programming, right? Insight is into program. So yesterday class I created like one, and then today's class I named like a two. So whenever you want to see some of the topics, definitely it will useful when you see that video later chapters, because tomorrow onwards, not tomorrow, maybe Saturday or Monday onwards, we're gonna start with Python programming, Python stuff. Because after this chapter, some of them are excluded. I would say introduction to problem solving. The problem solving using a decomposition. Those chapters are excluded. So I will explain tomorrow how flowchart work, how algorithm works. So after that, I will most of the time I will work with a PyCharm. So PyCharm, I will explain each and every topic with a few samples. So it will be helpful. Just whenever you need, this document, go to YouTube, and then you can check that. Okay. Okay, guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next to move on to virtual management. Virtual management is, is used when RAM is full. When RAM is full, okay, let me take, okay, here. When RAM is come full, that time, my program needs more than allocated memory. That time, as definitely my program needs some other memory, right? So memory to run or save or whatever. See, this is RAM. So whenever the RAM is completely full, it automatically it will check that virtual memory. So virtual memory is, it is located. I would say that it is a hard disk, and the partition program part is allocated for this kind of memory. The best example is Linux, and then Windows operating systems are supported to virtual memory management. Why we are using that? Whenever the RAM is full, that time the process need some of the memory. It will take that all the time. It won't, the virtual memory is not activated. Whenever the RAM is full, that time only this memory the operating system allocates that. It will swap the data from memory from here to here. That is what that diagram shows. Let me explain a little bit more. The operating system temporarily makes a section of loaded data in RAM, which are less required compared to other section, which means, when completely full, imagine, and the RAM is completely full, and some of the data is loaded already in the RAM. Okay, so what happened? Imagine the process is loaded into the RAM, and but RAM is not, that RAM is completely full. What happened? It will switch to virtual memory. So then, that particular process, imagine the process P3 or whatever. So P3 it needs more memory, but RAM is full. So that process will be swapped into virtual memory. Then it will process. After that, when memory is allocated from virtual area, then it will execute. So okay, after that, the memory virtual memory pages are required. The users load again RAM by swapping some other less required section of RAM. Okay, what it does mean? Okay, after that, every process, sometimes, one of the process will be terminated, or some of the, process are closed. Whenever the RAM is little bit free, it will be swapped here. Okay, so the virtual memory won't take all the time. Temporarily, you can say that temporarily it will, the data, the process will be swapped into virtual memory, and then all the execution will be done. OS loads them again when RAM is little bit required less section of RAM. Okay, so when the RAM is freed a small portion, then it will be swapped. Next one is virtual memories are also volatile. So volatile memory, you know that, right? uh, RAM is volatile memory, right? So what is volatile memory? When the power is off, the data will be lost, right, guys? You have studied volatile memory, right? Volatile, what is volatile means, the computer is turned off, we lose the data. So the virtual memory is also volatile, which means whenever any interruption by accident thing, the process is closed, then you may not retrieve that data. For example, if you work on the Chrome, So, you are deeply working here, by accidentally close it, and you click closed or control D, or there is a special key. By mistake, you have clicked it. By this entire Chrome will be closed. So then again, if you open it, it will ask you to retrieve that pages or not. If you say that yes, and then whatever the tabs you open, it will open by itself. So it will be open default, but that is a non-volatile. So here volatile means you cannot retrieve that data. Once it is lost, that's it. Okay, that is a virtual memory management. Uh, I would say that a disadvantage or whatever. We cannot expect all the time, keep data where RAM should be keep. We cannot do that, right? So okay, less used data is used. A main important thing of in a single line, you would say that what is memory management. Less used data is moved from RAM to virtual memory. The data that a CPU needs to use right now moves from virtual memory to RAM. You can write it that way. Virtual when virtual memory is used, the system will become slower. That's how it is developed. The virtual memory, it slows down the entire computer itself. So you may say that whenever the virtual memory is active, that is a disadvantage for our process or whatever. You can say that. Then next move on to IO management. So you know that what is IO means, input output management. You don't need to study more. You know that in the role of IO manager, whatever creates memory, create operating system creates a memory means. So the memory management, there will be a segment memory management. Any process management means, okay, this process means job. Here I would say that I have opened three, four Internet Explorer, one PyCharm, and then one MS Word. These are all called, you would say that process. I'm going to use a command prompt, whenever I run this, okay, this is active process. Okay. So, there is a manager to control all those things, a process manager, then memory management. So the operating system create some segment for, manage all the memory allocation, and then terminate that. There will be some certain part to take control of everything. Then IO management means IO manager of operating system to connect that process to actual IO devices through some strategy. So you understand this. Whenever what is the role of IO management means, there is a, I would say, IO manager means, don't think certain piece of hard disk or whatever. No, everything is under computer. You will say it is a program. So they will name it different way. This is process manager, this is IO manager. So the IO manager of operating system to connect the process to actual IO device through some strategy. So everything has to follow certain rules and regulations, right? So here, same way, the IO management. You know that what is IO management do? Whenever that operation comes, and then IO manager takes that data and then transfer into memory, then arithmetic logical unit performs here, and then control units take over that, right? So that part is a IO management. Then next one is user interface. So user interface means, that a GUI operation, graphical user interface, which means it is communication between user and then computer. Whenever nowadays we can use that mouse. You see, my cursor is moving. So this is also called a user interface. Earlier days, we don't use mouse, right? Only the keyboards will be there. Whenever I open that computer, I have to type, and then you press enter, and then it will open the command prompt. See the command prompt. Here also we are using cursor. Then okay, command prompt we cannot use that cursor. See, only you can able what you can do. You can only type, and then cd / it will go back. This kind of things happen. But here it is the user interface, the cursor. So my cursor is moving around that command line, but I cannot able. Only what I can do, I can drag and drop somewhere. Okay, now technology is improved, even though I can drag and drop. Earlier days, I open that computer, there is a icon, I can click it, cmd. If I type cmd here, this kind of thing, cmd, it will pop up. The command prompt will be popped up. Here I am selecting, or using my cursor I am selecting, but those days I cannot do anything. Only I type, and then it will come in front of that monitor. I have to work with only the keyboard. So nowadays it is changed. Windows icon based we can run. You see here, so many icons are there. By touch screen, I'm using touch screen. Without anything, I can I'm touching this Internet Explorer. I'm touching here. My mouse, I'm not touching, moving my cursor mouse. So I am everything is technology is improved. Many advantages are here. So this is called user GUI operation. So graphical user interface. So which means it is communicate between user and a computer. By seeing this Google or whatever, you don't need to worry about, you don't need to study anything. Unknown, the familiar, the person is not familiar about computer, he can work around nowadays, right? So by clicking this and that, and then they will understand, okay, this okay, now I clicked some of the web pages. Imagine I am very new to computer. So when I start my computer, by seeing and then moving my cursor, I can able to understand. I don't need to read a textbook. Okay, how should open, how should type. I don't need nowadays it will the Windows operating system or the GUI interface is helping us to it is, you may say that user friendly, or very fast everything. So that is called graphical user interface. The mostly in nowadays, if you don't see anywhere without GUI operation, right? So 100% everyone has been changed, moved into latest technology. So everyone is using graphical interface. So let's move on to next one. There some advantages is there. Already I told you, it is easy to understand, and then very fast, and then efficient multitasking. I can do whatever I want. I can click using a GUI operation. I can multitasking. It helps multitasking. But those days multitasking is not available. Only one application or one tool will be run at a time. So this is the advantage of GUI operation. That's all. I would say when GUI interface is very fast, and then more flexible, and it will allocate less memory. You can say that main three advantages. Okay, that's all now. Then let's move on to our question. Okay, guys. So far you all find, right? Memory management, and then virtual management, user interface, IO management. This topic is over. In your textbook, I told you that there is a next subtopics called cloud computing. Let me show you that. Okay, see, this is the deducted, excluded portions. So the unit one, encoding schemes, UTF. That is why I just ASCII. I took only ASCII a little bit. Okay, so the UTF 8 and then 32 are excluded, and then cloud computing, and then blockchain technologies are excluded. Unit 2 decomposition, which means in chapter 5 or 6, some topics are excluded, means it is you don't need to worry about it. Whatever exams, they don't ask you these questions. Okay, so this chapter, insight into program execution, that chapter is over. Then we will move on to next one. What is that? Sixth chapter. Uh, yeah, a little bit I will take, my problem solving, flow chart. You have to know what is a flow chart, what is the algorithm, how to draw, and then write it. I will explain one next class. Then we will move on to, Python coding. Okay, getting started with Python. Anyone, everyone has a computer at home, or I don't know. Can you tell me how many of you have any laptop or desktop, guys?
Ma'am, I have, ma'am.
Who's that?
Neil Raj, ma'am.
Neil Raj, you have computer, okay. And then others?
I have laptop, ma'am.
Okay. Because grade 12 students, I asked them, but no, they are not ready to come for lab due to the COVID-19. But if I ask, once we started Python program, it is really helpful if you come to in-person lab. You have to work around what is data type, how it works, just make a practice of some programs that will help you. I can run as much from here, but you have to get practice and then run small programs. That is why I'm wondering, if I ask you to come for lab, you guys ready, right? Only two of you given me acceptance letter. Other, it's like dead silent. They are, you guys are not ready to talk about it. Just feel free to say, oh ma'am, I cannot come, ma'am, I can come. Just then only I can understand who are all willing to come. Maybe circumstances, someone cannot come, but it's all acceptable, right? So now situation is worse, but I think government announces that 21st onwards we can open grade 9 to 12. Is it so? Anyone heard about that news or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
If it is true, definitely we will call you in regular days. You have to come, but so far I haven't received any message from our office. Let's see what will happen. Okay, let me discuss about that weekly test question. Okay, flash memory is a type of, already I have declared that. Okay, flash memory is a type of dash memory, guys. I have RAM. Yeah, exactly. I have marked it down here. Maybe you will see that. Okay, the disk fragmentation is an example of what is that? Utility software, right? Guys, which of the following memory types cannot store a data or information permanently? That ROM, either ROM or RAM. RAM definitely it cannot store a data permanently. Okay, which of the following is a common measurement of unit of computer memory? See, whenever you buy phone or computer, you will check, okay, how many GB. So 64 GB, or you can immediately that thing will pop up on your head. Oh, then you will identify what is answer, gigabyte. Okay, then immediately you know that whenever you want to buy a computer, okay, you will check first thing how memory size, right? You same way whenever you are going to purchase a phone, what you will think, okay, how many GB I have, 64 GB memory, right? So when you that statement will pop up on your head, then immediately you don't need to worry about anything, you will answer right away. Okay. Which one of the following is not valid symbol in decimal number? Which means don't stick with the normal decimal number. Decimal number system means I said number system. So which means octal number is include, hexa number is include. You can check one by one. 2, it is a decimal number. 8 is a decimal number. 9 is also decimal number. G is not a decimal number because hexadecimal A to F. So G comes after F, right? Guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the answer is G. So which means D. Okay. How many bytes are there in this binary number? So 1 byte equal to 8 bit, right? So if you count that binary number, you will come to know, okay, this binary number has 2 bytes. So here I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1 byte, then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this binary number has 2 bytes. That is why I asked you to read 1 byte equal to how many bit, and then 1 MB equal to how many byte, 1 gigabyte equal to how many megabyte. You have to know that it is a basic understanding thing. Whenever in future also, someone will insult you if you don't know that memory megabyte equal to how many bytes, and then gigabyte equal to how many megabyte. If you don't know that, then definitely, if you are a computer student and then you don't know that, if someone asks this kind of question, it is really shame on you. So just be aware of it, what is byte, and then how many digits equal to 1 byte. So here it is 16 bit, right? 16 bit means 2 bytes. So the answer is 2 byte. Just now I said UTF-32 is excluded, but I don't know, I asked this question. Okay, UTF-32 is a type of dash encoding, Unicode encoding. You have studied this or not? Okay, go ahead. According to the Boolean law, A plus 0 equal to what?
A, ma'am.
A. So the answer will be this, B. Okay, the output of 2 input AND gate is high when? AND gate means immediately you have to think that is a multiplication. So when multiplication appears, any number, any one is 0, the resultant value will be 0. So what is our question? The output of 2 input AND gates is high when. So what is they are asking? The output is high when it happens, which means immediately you would say that both inputs are high, then only you will get the output. If you use AND gate. Okay. So these are all small basic thing you have to understand. So you don't need to worry about to check in your textbook, or you have to calculate. So AND gate means it is multiplication. Okay. Now here they haven't mentioned any NAND gate or NOR gate, just simply AND gate. So when 2 inputs, input AND gates, when the output is high, so immediately multiplication. If you multiply with a 0, whatever the number maybe 10 input AND gates, any one of the input is 0, the output will be 0. So output will be low. So they are asking when the output is high. So which means both inputs are high, it will produce the high output. Okay, the gate NAND can be simplified as what? Imagine NAND gate. NAND gate, first thing is AND gate, then a NOT gate will be there, right? AND followed by NOT is a NAND gate, right? Why everyone is so silent? I don't know. Just answer me. Am I in line or immediately a question will be raised? Oh, am I in line or getting disconnected? Oh my gosh. Okay, then binary equivalent of decimal number 10. What is the answer? I have given already. You know that, right? By
1010.
yeah, 1010 because I have written here. Okay, according to the commutative law, what is the answer here?
A
AB is
into B
equal
equal
to
to B
BA.
into A.
Say it again.
A
A
into B
equal,
equal to B into A, ma'am.
AB is equal to BA.
right? Is that one? Everybody agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It says strongly, man. You whatever, if you're saying wrong answer, if you say right answer, that is not a matter. It doesn't matter. You have to be strong, and then how do you say that? I don't know what am I call it. Be bold. Okay, ma'am, it is if you say wrong, that does not harm you, that does not harm me as well. Okay, so just to say boldly, okay, ma'am, A equal to A, that is a commutative law. Nothing wrong in it. So don't hesitate. Hesitation is bad thing. It will direct you to downgrade yourself. So strongly and then boldly say whatever you think, ma'am. According to me, the commutative law equal to A dot 0 equal to A. So you say that, okay, then I will correct you. Okay, no, this is a different law. I may say it differently, but don't hesitate. Okay, so I don't want that. I don't like that way. No, strike directly, say directly whatever you want to say. Okay, so I hope you all did this properly. I haven't touched yet. I will correct it in this weekend. I will send it to you. Okay, so up to this 12, how many of you written correct answers? Sanjay, Vyabinya, Danisha, come on.
Ma'am,
How many of your answer is
Ma'am.
correct? How many of the MCQs are correct?
ma'am. Two answers are wrong, ma'am.
I'm asking each one of you, anyone, written 12 correct answers, or Danisha, how many of your MCQ is correct? You know that, right? You can remember what you have written, what you have checked.
Ma'am, I wrote 12 correct.
Why? Danisha, I'm asking you.
Ma'am, 10 of them are
You
correct,
there?
ma'am.
Sanjay? Come on.
Ma'am,
Shweta, are you there?
ma'am, two wrong, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Two
9
wrong,
of them
ma'am.
are correct
I
for me,
couldn't
ma'am.
hear you. Oh my
One
God.
of them correct, ma'am.
Can you talk now?
11 of them correct. 11.
Okay. Now only I can hear. Lohin, what happened?
11.
11? Okay,
Correct,
Shweta? Shweta Lakshmi
9,
or
ma'am.
9? Okay, Shweta Lakshmi?
11, ma'am.
11, that's good. And then Danisha?
10, ma'am.
10. Okay, Neil Raj?
Ma'am, all are correct, ma'am.
Huh?
All are correct, ma'am.
Oh, really? That's great, man. Okay. Vyabinya, how about you?
9, ma'am. 9.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I'll call off now. We will see tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Bye, guys. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Bye. Bye.